Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Alex, and this is my top 10 power forwards going into the 2022-2023 season. First thing I want to say is that I am not projecting how good a player may be. This is simply based off of last season alone, so don't expect a young player to be higher because they may improve from last season. With that out of the way, I also want to mention two names in my honorable mentions, and that is Julius Randle and John Collins. For Julius Randle, his offensive consistency was just not up to par compared to everyone else in the top 10. And for someone like John Collins, although he is very good as an offensive player, I think that his defense is a little bit inconsistent. He definitely has the potential to be a good defender due to his athleticism, but for right now, I just don't see him being as good of a defender compared to other people, and his offense does not make up for that inconsistency. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. At number 10, I have Jerami Grant. After 2 seasons of playing in Detroit where he was able to show off what he could do in a bigger offensive role, Jerami Grant sees himself next season with the Blazers, where he will have a very similar role, but in a situation that should include some more winning. Grant should be a huge help for the Blazers, as not only will he be able to provide some scoring, but he'll also be able to play a huge role on the defensive end, where he truly shines as a versatile defender who can switch on to guards and forwards, something the Blazers have really needed since the Stone Ages. I feel Grant has kind of been lost in the league due to him playing in Detroit, but for me, the spot makes sense. At number 9, I have Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis is another player who, after being traded from the Mavs to the Wizards, that I think some people have kind of slept on. Although his play was not the best when he was on the Mavericks, Porzingis improved greatly once in Washington, where he was able to score 2 more points, but on great efficiency where he shot around 60% true shooting. The Wizards are a huge question mark next season, and most likely will be playing for a play-in spot, but I think Porzingis will continue to do what he was able to do in the 17 games with the Wizards last season, as long as he can stay healthy, which is a big ask. At number 8, I have Miles Bridges. Coming into last season, the expectations for Miles Bridges wasn't too high. That's not to say no one expected him to get better, but I don't think people expected him to take the jump that he did, which saw his points per game average go from 12 to 20 points, while also keeping his efficiency at a great level. This jump, while impressive, wasn't really impactful towards wins, however. The Hornets had a decent season but didn't make the playoffs and faced a similar fate as the season prior, which saw them get demolished in the play-in tournament. With legal troubles in the way for Bridges, who knows when he'll be back? Until then, the fate of the success of the Hornets is in LaMelo Ball's hands. At number 7, I have Ben Simmons. After a very controversial year off for Ben Simmons, I feel people have forgotten how good he really is. Yes, his flaws stick out like a sore thumb, and I don't think I need to dive into that, but his playmaking, rebounding, and defensive ability alone, I think puts him here at number 7. In the last season Simmons played in, Ben Simmons was the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. I know there were a lot of question marks about how good he could be come playoff time, which is why he isn't higher. But with what I know about him, he is talented enough to make this list. At number 6, I have Jaren Jackson Jr. As the second best player on the team, Triple J saw himself actually being the most valuable on the team because of Ja Morant missing 25 games last season. What Jaren Jackson Jr. brings to the table is a top 5 Defensive Player of the Year candidate, while also being a threat from the outside as a 3-point shooter. Although his shooting hasn't been as good as other seasons, it changed for the better in the playoffs where he shot about 6% better from 3. One thing JJJ needs to improve on coming into next season is his foul troubles. And many times in the regular and postseason, he was unable to stay on the court for crucial parts of games because he was already at 4 or 5 fouls. If he can control that, his impact could be even better for the Grizzlies, because he can actually stay on the court. At number 5, I have Draymond Green. Although statistically Draymond doesn't stand out, his impact on the defensive end, which doesn't always show up in the box score, is what puts him this high on the list. The ability to guard almost every single player on the court and at the same time be the anchor for a defense by contesting shots at the rim at only 6'6" is something that cannot be measured. Add the fact that on offense, he was able to affect the game with his dribble handoffs and short roll ability. Draymond's skill set is just one of one. His scoring ability is what stops him from going any higher, but being number 5 is something not to take lightly, as the rest of the players on this list are legit. At number 4, I have Pascal Siakam. Siakam, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated players in the league. After a slow first half that saw him miss a handful of games and not perform to his ability on the offensive end, Once Game 32 hit, Pascal showed what he is made of. From that point to the end of the season, he averaged 24 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists on 50, 37, 74 splits. This was a huge improvement, and this played a big part in surprising everyone and pushing the Raptors into the playoffs. Pascal's versatile defense and playmaking for his position is unmatched, and he's still getting better. The Raptors are full of really solid players, but Pascal to me is a standout from that roster. At number 3, I have Zion Williamson. It's been a while since we've seen Zion in action, but in the last season he played, he was an absolute beast. He averaged 27 points on 61% from the field. More impressively, he shot 70% from the restricted area. To put that percentage in context, usually centers would be shooting 70% in the restricted area. I know Zion is a power forward, but he's also only 6'6", while a typical big man is around 7 feet tall. Zion was a problem in the paint that nobody could stop. What makes him even more dangerous is his willingness to pass, so when he did get stuck in the paint, he was more than capable of passing the ball to the open man. Pelicans are primed to make some noise this season, and a big part of this has to do with Zion's return to what will most likely be another dominant season. At number 2, I have Anthony Davis. After another injury-riddled season that saw AD only playing 40 games, AD was still good, but nowhere near his previous self. His scoring and overall efficiency outside the paint dropped quite a bit. However, he was still able to defend at a high level even with a lack of defensive help on his team, and his under the basket game was at his best where he virtually shot 80% in the restricted area. Health is a huge question mark for AD, but when he's healthy, he's one of the best bigs we have in the game. And finally, at number 1 for the best power forwards in the NBA right now, I have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis is probably the most obvious pick for being number 1 in their position, and is for a good reason. He's one of the best defenders in the league, being able to virtually guard every position, protect the paint, and be an elite help and weak side defender. In addition, Giannis is one of the best scorers in the league without having a consistent outside jumper or free throw shot, although both have improved since he's came into the league. He was able to average 30 points in the regular season, and in the playoffs that number increased. However, his efficiency did drop, but this is mainly due to playing the Celtics, who had the best defense in the league. Despite that, he still took the Celtics to 7 games in the second round, without his second best player Chris Middleton and consistent offensive help. Giannis is still peaking, so to me, he won't be leaving this number 1 spot for a very long time. Well, there's my top 10 power forwards right now. If you enjoyed, like the video and sub, because I'll be posting more ranking videos soon. All my socials are in the link tree below, along with my podcast channel, so if you're interested in that, go check it out. Anyways, I'll see y'all later. Peace out.